an ocean, much too hard to cross. You are a cross that's much too deep to bear.
Today, on the 7th of June, the new Prince album, Originals, has been released on a Tidal Exclusive for 14 days, after which the album will hit all streaming sites and be released as a physical CD on June the 21st. A 180-gram 2LP version and a deluxe LP and CD version with accompanying booklet will see the light of day on July the 19th. There is also a Target exclusive which includes a cinematic version of Nothing Compares to You. There is even purple and also white vinyl, which the estate are making available. All in all, whatever your preference for experiencing Prince's music, there is a format for everyone. The Originals album is essentially a compilation of tracks that Prince either created with other artists in mind or decided to give away, allowing numerous other bands and singers to have huge hits and sharing the spoils of the creative powerhouse that Prince always was. This, for me, is the essential importance of this album. Prince was not merely an artist, he was a movement, the purple Yoda driving a Minneapolis sound that still shapes music to this day. Prince always said that his songs were like children, and some of these children found a home immediately, whilst for others it took a few years to find that special place for them to shine. Almost all the tracks on the album are heavily focused in the 80s, with the exception of Love Thy Will Be Done, which sneaks into the early 90s. There are chart hits, deeper cuts, and songs that must have tempted Prince to keep hold of them. It was made clear upon the announcement of this project that these were not merely guides that Prince created for the intended artists, but fully finished tracks that stood as songs in their own right. We weren't going to put out a rough vocal, Troy Carter stated. The tracks were selected by Jay-Z for Tidal and Troy Carter for the Prince estate. Indeed, it was Jay-Z that pushed for the inclusion of Love Thy Will Be Done. Jay-Z also stated that he was curious as a fan to see what the songs would sound like if Prince had kept them. Indeed, it is interesting to see just how much of Prince's original treatments of the various tracks survived into their final versions, some somewhat more than others. It is also intriguing to see the way in which Prince used and toyed with his androgynous nature, as the vast majority of these tracks were either intended for or ended up being performed by female artists. It's actually quite fun to see how Prince subtly changes a few lyrics, and also those he chooses not to change. I won't spoil that for you. It is also crucial to say that a number of these versions are not the versions that I've seen circulating previously, so if you have some of the bootlegs you might well be in for a surprise, such as Prince counting in tracks and a number of different instrumentation touches. The sound, through headphones, does sound amazing, with the exception of Wouldn't You Love to Love Me, which isn't quite to that standard. So while we wait for the CD, the vinyl, the booklet, we can at least explore the music itself, so let's dive right in to track number 1. I never thought when I was first initiated into the world of Prince's music that I would then go on to hear Prince sing this track. Can you listen to this camp-laden, innuendo-stuffed showboat of saucy suggestion without thinking of Apollonia performing the track in the Purple Rain film, Prince lowering his mirrored sunglasses to meet Apollonia's longing stare? Prince's baritone backing here is superb on headphones with a deep vibrating feel. The great synth plays meld with Prince's androgynous vocals, which display a real attitude and really bring a new nuanced playfulness to the track. As Prince exclaims himself, "All the people sing it, yeah." This is a great start to the album and imbues it with a real sense of fun and power. Prince and Morris always shared a certain humour, swagger and bravado, and tracks such as Pretty Man and Clarine Baconskin certainly prove that. And it's pretty fascinating to hear Prince sing Jungle Love after so many years of it being synonymous with Morris Day and the time. Indeed, it's quite startling at how close Prince's original idea was performed by the time, although perhaps that should not come as a surprise. Prince always said that the time was the only band he was genuinely scared of, a Godzilla of a group. But Prince's behind-the-scenes string pulling was always evident, while simultaneously being a source of both creative fire and tense friction. From the chants, the OEOs, the entire vibe, it seems the track is very much completed in Prince's mind, and the time were just ready to make it the mainstay of their Purple Rain era fame. It was often said that Prince's Jamie Starr alter ego was largely satisfied through Morris Day. And whilst I would agree that this track would have struggled to fit onto a Prince album, it is a surefire crowd-pleasing floor filler. Prince's laugh is heard at the intro, and there's a real swagger just like Morris. The vocals sound strong and crystal clear, and Prince gets to deliver some great Jamie Starr-like lines. You want to make love or what? And if you're hungry, take a bite of me. Prince truly adopts a personality on this one, and his screams and grunts are, well, everything.
I don't have to run, babe. It's just another manic Monday.
It has always been probably my favourite Prince fact that the Prince-written Manic Monday was only blocked from becoming a US #1 by a certain track named Kiss by Prince and the Revolution. Truly, Prince owned the chart that week. There is something just so joyous, bouncy and carefree about this tale of longing for the escape from the Monday to Friday 9 to 5. As with all Prince tracks, he elevates it beyond usual pop fare with some great lines, such as "I was kissing Valentino by a crystal blue Italian stream." Originally the track was intended as a duet between Prince and Apollonia and was tentatively placed on the Apollonia 6 album. After Prince ran into the Bangles as they recorded at Sunset Sound, lead singer Susanna Hoffs asked Prince to contribute a track and, not for the first time, Apollonia lost a great track. Some of Brenda Bennett's Apollonia 6 vocals still survived after the Bangles re-recorded the song. Susanna recalled that on one occasion Prince was told by his bodyguards that it was turning midnight, so she asked, "What happens at midnight?" To which Prince replied, "The bodyguards turn into rats." Prince's version has always fascinated me, as Prince was hardly someone who lived a regular life in relation to work hours, and this track is almost dreamlike. It just sweeps you up and swirls you around, and has a distant relation to the later Raspberry Beret. Particularly cool are the parts where Prince breaks down the track to almost nothing and exclaims, "Come on honey, let's go make some noise." Definitely a different version to what I've ever heard, with Prince's voice much deeper than I would have imagined.
I love our new rendezvous.
It is clear that Sheila E. plays a huge part on this album, with this her first of 4 appearances on the Originals project. The tracks are spread out over the album, but all stem from a prolific 2-year burst of releases from the albums The Glamorous Life, Romance 1600 and the Crush Groove soundtrack. This is the controlled, haunting track which has a real feel of the atmosphere of the 80s, with a real injection of anticipation, excitement and anxious energy. Your words, they intoxicate me. I shiver each time that you speak. Prince delivers a beautiful vocal, pure falsetto heaven, and a drum program that is instantly recognisable as classic Prince. His very controlled vocal performance will consolidate his reputation as a superb singer for anyone who still doesn't know.
Purple, I wanna make a good for you. Make up.
Here Prince hits his deep baritone, and it certainly toys with gender roles as he talks of whether to wear a dress or camisole as he sings the track as a guide for Vanity 6. It's a pacey, rumbling track with a myriad of effects and Prince speaking in a robotic, staccato-like trance. A real oddity, but so very cool. If I wear a dress, you'll never call. So I just wear less. I wear my camisole. So different from anything Prince ever released. I really think that this is a song that shows a whole new style of Prince that few would have heard before. This could well possibly be my favourite track of the moment. Such a high-powered, frenetic, pulsating, firebrand rocker of a song. From the stark, funk-laden, rubbery drum programming and synth slices, this groove is so addictive it needs to come with a warning. This is the track that you will be singing over the next few weeks. I am so glad that this song is finally getting the wider circulation that it truly deserves. Its high-tempo power entwined with Prince's falsetto and the ear-candy chorus make this a song that people who haven't heard it are gonna love. This is definitely a groove that could run for so much longer. The vocals could have been ever so slightly higher in the mix, but all in all, it's just a tune in real sense and every sense. Simply sublime.
Stop your pretending, you know how I feel.
This is possibly the strangest track on the album for a number of reasons. Firstly, it's perhaps relatively unknown widely outside the Prince community that Prince was behind this track, and Prince's treatment of the track is fascinating in that he really displays the almost limitless range, flexibility and musical intuition he always had, embracing a different style that allowed an established older male artist, not the usual receiver of Prince's gifts, to fully bring his style to the composition is one of the many reasons Prince truly needs to be appreciated more as a songwriter for others. This sounds so different to what most people will think of when they think of Prince, and just displays how much musical maturity Prince had at such a young age. Towards the end of the track, Prince ratchets up the level. This is a fascinating song.
Everybody wanna Holly rock. Say it.
Wow, I love the fact that Prince clearly sung this version as a guide for Sheila E, and indeed sings in the lyrics that he is Sheila E. Prince was always very prominent on the released Sheila E version, and it's so strange to hear Prince sing the track after all these years. This is one of those tracks that has to be propelled by a singer with a full personality, a real baby I'm a star feel. There are some great moments with connection to the Black Album, with lines about being badder than a wicked witch, touches of James Brown, and a track that feels so live that you can imagine the jam bringing the house down toward the end of a concert or after show. Prince essentially raps with some perfectly pitched light backing vocals. The longest track of the collection is a real funk workout that is guaranteed to get everyone up on their feet, although Prince teases at the very end, "Now try to dance to that." It's always a little different hearing a track that you have heard on bootlegs for years, for whilst the previous listening robs you of the fresh introduction and surprise of the track, it does gain by feeling familiar, loved and cherished. This is undoubtedly a classic that, just like She's Always in My Hair, was simply a track in search of an album. Indeed, it waited 5 years from initial recording in 1982 to seeing release on Jill Jones's self-titled album in 1987. Truly a very underrated album, Jill gave this track everything, and hers is a soulful, spirited tour de force. Prince also shows total abandon on his version, and is at the absolute peak of his powers, marshalling his high falsetto with a real gospel tinge and sense of uplifting euphoria. Really, this should have been a big hit for Prince. I love when he sings the "I know what people think, that I'm a starstruck little fool." Prince's screams and vocal thrusting at around 2 minutes 30 are exquisite, and 3 minutes 6 sees Prince just explode with a soaring gospel shriek. The second half of the track is Prince at his intuitive best, with vocal noodling over a backing refrain. Those last 30 seconds, oh my goodness, pure poetry in falsetto.
She wants to leave. Glamorous life she don't need. A man's touch.
It's a testament to many of these tracks that just the first few bars of songs like The Glamorous Life instantly connect with the listener, and here Prince once again decided to remove a track tentatively intended for the Apollonia 6 album. It is a sumptuous string track, and like so many of these tracks on the album, you can really see Prince's fingerprints heavily imprinted on the Sheila E version. The ability of Prince to write songs from a female perspective is practically unmatched. From the jazzy intro to the iconic string motif that explodes into the song we all know and love, this is so good now to hear Prince's initial interpretation of a classic. I guess you've heard of my reputation. I've had my share of fooling around, but everybody needs stimulation, and mine just happens to be all over town. It's an easy money occupation, a first-class psychiatry, but just once I'd want to make love without taking off my clothes. A real chance for Prince to show off his vocal range in the space of just a few lines. Prince primarily sings in his baritone, and it's unusual to hear him perform within this tonal range. At 3 minutes, Prince just ramps things up with a great vocal train. It's quite an interesting concept of the poor, hard-done-by gigolo who longs for love and is just sadly misunderstood. Only Prince and Morris Day could ever pull off a track like this.
And that's why I can no longer run. Love, thy will be done. Love, thy will be done.
There is no doubt that this is a Prince classic also, and one of Prince's several contributions to the Martika's Kitchen album. The new Power generation even managed to record their own version in 1994 with Sonny T on vocals, originally slated for the Exodus project. It is a mesmeric hymn, an anthem to God, to positivity, and just excels in lifting your heart a beat. There are moments when Prince's voice just ratchets up a few notes, like he is just being carried away by the ethereal nature and propulsion of the track. This track was quite rightly a huge hit, and one that Prince could easily have slipped onto Diamonds and Pearls or the Love Symbol album, but Prince, once again, helped to power a female artist into the stratosphere. A track that sounds as fresh as the day it was recorded. Close your eyes and let go. The back and forth between the backing vocals and Prince's light as a feather falsetto are a pure joy. Prince's backing vocals are, as always, a complete masterclass in the art. Listen to the section from 2 minutes 30 to 3 minutes 10. Crystal clear hand claps see out the track. Prince clearly loved the guitar solo on this tale of Michelangelo, as he reused it on the scandalous sex suite, The Rapture, and it deserves its own platform as it's simply growlingly, gutturally sublime. It's a quirky song that delves into some mind-transcending themes and twists and turns. The guitar intro, the rubbery pulsating drum and percussion, so many layers to this track. The lyrics are darker and deeper than most tracks out there, and sung with a real sincerity and genuine feeling.
Would you like to love me? Would you like to love me, baby?
The oldest track on this collection, this song seems to have been wandering about the earth, desperately seeking its true home and waiting to be appreciated for some time. Originally recorded way back in 1976 and re-recorded twice a couple of years later, then again 4 years after that. Prince was then asked by Quincy Jones to duet with Michael Jackson on Bad. After Prince politely declined, he offered this track instead, but it never made it onto the album. Taja Savelle then released the track on her 1987 album with several accompanying remixes. It is fascinating that you can still very much feel the 1976 vibe of youthful Prince writing his first great love songs, but also equally intriguing to see the updating of the track. Prince, it would seem, was never quite satisfied with the track, and Taja finally gave it the love it needed. This is the only track where the sound quality is a little echoey and removed, but it is in keeping with the age and circumstances of when it was recorded. Possibly Mutiny or Cool could have taken its place, but it's still a truly catchy track. At around 6 minutes, Prince extends the jam, and his vocal layering really transports you to his early career and production methods.
No, nothing compares to you.
Probably the most famous of all the tracks on this album, and Prince's version was released as a standalone track last year. Originally released on the Family's Only album, the track was sadly overlooked until Sinead O'Connor powered out an emotionally naked version, which she delivered with a tear-stricken video performance that was irresistibly moving. Prince and Rosie also combined to create a great live version on the Hits package in 1993. There is something so ironically wounding about Prince's version now. It has almost become a real statement for the loss we have all experienced, and that of Prince himself. The mournful lament about all the flowers that have died since his love went away, and his futile trips to the doctor who cannot cure the pain of a shattered heart, are testament to Prince's ability to innately tap into the heartfelt emotion that connects us all. Like any great artist, Prince takes that feeling we have all known and makes us nod in painful acknowledgement when we hear it expressed so succinctly, so hauntingly. No release from the estate will ever tick every box for every Prince aficionado. It's not possible. We all want different things: live shows, unreleased albums, outtakes. The list is endless. But I really like this collection. Firstly, it shows the world how much more Prince was than the average artist. Prince's boundless, ceaseless creativity, originality and productivity was simply unmatched. Nothing pleases me more than when someone loves a track but doesn't know Prince wrote it, and I get to tell them, in some detail, until I get that look. It also means that some truly great songs see an official release, and this not only stems some bootlegging a little, but also means that the estate does value the huge amount of work that Prince created that never made it onto his own albums. The tracks actually work well together as a compilation and are arranged in a sensitive way, as much as tracks that were not designed to be on an album together can be. I didn't really find myself, as I thought, comparing Prince's versions with the artists that made them famous. Simply hearing Prince's original ideas and intentions for each track was fascinating in its own right. Each covering artist certainly brought their own interpretation to the tracks, some changing the original more than others, but I must admit there are a good 6 or 7 tracks where I really think Prince might well have placed them on his own albums. Hearing Prince's originals really gives you the full sense of just how much of his artistry, personality and presence he implanted onto the many tracks he gave away. The only criticism I could make is not really a criticism, but more an observation, that this could well just be the first volume of many if the estate decided to go that way. Think of tracks such as Cool, Mutiny, The Sex of It, and so many more. All in all, this has been a very good day in the Prince world. I'm really going to get a lot of plays out of this album, and it's a great step forward in the Prince release journey. Thank you to everyone involved. Originals is available on Tidal from June the 7th, and in physical formats from the 21st of June.